Oh my god, this is the first time I'm talking this morning, so my voice is just waking up. But hello from the city of Dubai. It's early in the morning and I just prayed and I read a few pages of a book called 101 Essays That Will Change the Way That You Think. And I love this book because it's a book that I have a very interesting way of reading. I'm not reading it all in one shot or without pausing to read other books, but instead I've been reading it for the past 3 years. And the way I read it is I just read a few essays from these 101 essays every time I'm back home in Dubai. I don't take the book around with me, I leave it here. Or maybe I took it with me to my first semester of uni and then decided that I don't want to read all the essays at once. I feel like it will be cool to just read a certain essay at a certain time. And guys, it's crazy because somehow I just feel like I read essays when I'm meant to read them. I remember it was New Year's Day, now 2025, and I read an essay that was so specific to what I needed to hear in that moment when I read that essay. SubhanAllah, there was an emotion or way I was feeling about something on New Year's Eve, and waking up to read the essay and get the message that was on that book at that time was so needed. And I just love that book because, it's a lot of it allows you to do a lot of self-reflection. Such a great way to start the morning, very conscious and self-aware. And I feel like the essays I read this morning are essays that include messages that I need to be thinking about as I navigate today, because I'm doing some things today that involve the requirement of self-awareness and clarity, let's say. But one essay in particular that I wanted to hop on here and talk about was one that talks about the fact that you don't always need to justify yourself and your storyline doesn't always need to make sense. It can be squiggly. I feel like we always, or at least I sometimes feel the need to make things chronological or make things make sense in my mind to explain why I'm doing certain things. So let's say you, switch jobs and you feel the need to explain why this is solving a problem, or okay, I did this and now I'm doing this, and okay, this makes sense because of this. And we almost feel the need to explain this to others. Even when you're speaking to someone about a decision and you're like, oh, because of this, or if you're saying no to someone, you feel the need to explain why, or if, for example, you have a preference in something and the way you do it, and maybe it involves not attending an event, a lot of people feel the need to justify, but in reality, you don't need to explain yourself for lots of things, and things don't always need to make sense in that they link with your past experiences, and because you were like this before, now you're like this, and the way you used to be is leading to who you are now. People change and life happens, so not everything needs to be so specifically weaved to align in terms of your experiences, you know what I mean? The person who you were before doesn't have to be similar or directly lead up to who you are now. And that was just eye-opening. I've thought a lot about the fact that, I don't need to justify myself, but the fact that when I'm explaining myself, it doesn't need to be okay, so this past experience and maybe something I couldn't solve then, or something this past experience reflecting on it made me realize that I need to do something, which is why I'm doing what I'm doing now. That doesn't need to be the reason. Obviously, I think, at least currently, I feel like everything does have a reason, but that doesn't have to be the specific reason, something from the past. So think about how you feel now in this current present moment. Another essay I just read asked was, what are the 5 most important things to you in life? And is your life centered around them? Is it? Can you think about 5 things that mean the most to you? Because if you're not living your life according to them, and maybe you have more control to be doing so, then have a think about how you can do that. Life is short, and you have to be asking yourself questions like, what would I do if no one was watching? What would I do if I didn't feel like I was being judged? What would I do if the media didn't exist, if social media didn't exist? And I was actually happy that I felt like my answer for the social media one wasn't too different, or at least recently, because maybe now that I asked myself some similar questions leading up to the new year, and I feel like I've been acting more according to what I felt my answers were. And that just goes to show how important self-reflection is and how effective it can be. But I really encourage you to think about that, to think about the answer. And so I was on a walk across Kite Beach as the sun was setting, very nice walk with John V before my birthday in 2024. And we asked each other some fun questions, as we do. One of them was, what would you do if you had a year left to live? And that's a common question, I would say, that people ask each other. But it was the first time I vocalized a certain answer. It was an answer that would always come to my head, but that maybe I was too scared to say out loud because I didn't feel bold enough to actually do it. And I'm not going to reveal just what it is, but there's something I've wanted to do for a long, long time. And it's something that I think, if God forbid something were to happen to me, had I not done yet, or had I not done before dying, like, yes, بعيد الشر, I would feel regret, and I would feel like what was stopping, like in reality, like what was stopping me was fear, and also maybe life, conformity, social expectations. And so now I've thought about it, especially after my trip to Umrah, and where I felt a lot of inner peace, and I was able to connect to God and think about this decision. And now I know I have more of a trajectory and a pathway for this decision, and how I can actually fulfill it step by step in a way that can suit me and the context of my situation in making this decision. So if you feel like there's something deep down that you really need to do, or you just have that gut feeling that's really strong, and sometimes it consumes your thinking and your mind, and maybe it even stresses you out a bit, then take some time to be completely honest with yourself. Really, just like put your phone away, sit with yourself, whether it's like closing your eyes or praying about it or meditating about it. Be completely honest with yourself. Like, if nothing else mattered and it was just you in this world, what would you do? How would you act on it? And in terms of what's best for you and what's right for you, like you specifically, internally and spiritually, with however you go about navigating decisions, your mindset, what or maybe you think about what needs to be amended with your mindset towards this decision. This has just been my way of thinking about, in terms of like decision making recently, and I've found it quite helpful. And something I think that's so important, like I said, is being honest with yourself, being completely honest, and being clear. Something I want to work on also is being clear in not only communicating with myself but with others, because people pleasing can get in the way sometimes. I'm definitely not as much of a people pleaser as when I was younger, but you don't want to, like, conforming to people and to society is a thing, and you don't want to let it completely dominate the way you live your life, because it's not going to benefit you. And even the book was saying, like, something that's right for you could be like tragic for someone else, and for them to do that in their life. So don't live life for others, live life for yourself. it can involve some uncomfortable change, but it's your life, you know? Like, what's the point of being unhappy and doing things the way that other people want you to do them, or the way you think other people want you to do them? Really, like, even if, let's say, I don't know, what's an example? Like, let's say you have, I'm just thinking of job because it's the most, like, basic example, I think, or maybe common one, but not to invalidate it, but it's just, I think maybe everyone, because of the capitalist society we live in, everyone kind of has lots of people have a job, so or like at least like a 9 to 5, you know what I mean? Anyways, let's say you have a job and you're in it because it's very comfortable for you, and or maybe you like your team, or you feel very comfortable and you don't actually know how fulfilled you're being, but then maybe someone leaves your team and you question, okay, would I leave? Like, am I happy here? Like, is this a sign? Or like, if you can't, I can't stay here for the people because like people are gonna leave, you know? It's the same way with maybe getting external validation from people, or from a certain feeling. Like, let's say, I don't know, you're in a relationship and you only feel good when your partner compliments you, or when you're having a good day and you're not arguing, and I guess your conversations with them are flowing, which, okay, no, that's normal, but it can't be that when, like, let's say you're not getting some external validation from them, that you're feeling, like, obviously it's normal to expect validate, like, with your partner, you know, compliments and all of that, but you can't let the way you feel about yourself be entirely determined by that. You know, like, what someone else thinks of you, what someone else is doing. At the end of the day, you have to be living life to fulfill yourself. I hope this makes sense. It is still early, but some thoughts I was having. Another one that I've been thinking about quite a bit is the fact that, like, with this big decision that I have, is that no one is going to think about you as much as you think about yourself. Really, just think about all the people you know. Or let's say if you're a student, think about everyone on your course. If you're someone at working a job, think about the people in your company that you interact with once in a while. Like, how often do you really think about them? And there's this trend on TikTok right now where people post pictures and say why they're insecure, about them, and why they didn't post them. Maybe they pinpoint a certain feature that they're insecure about, and literally more than 90% of the time I haven't noticed that. And it just goes to show that really people aren't, like, maybe okay if they spent more time analyzing you and something, maybe they notice something, but people really aren't even giving the time of day to look that deep into something related to you, because they're just thinking about themselves. Like, this decision I have, I'm thinking so much about it, and it's all about me at the end of the day, because it's going to affect me in my life. I'm not dedicating that much time to thinking about someone else and a decision maybe I don't even know that they're going through right now. So don't stress yourself out too much about what other people are thinking, and try your best not to live your life for others, because it's not gonna, I don't think it's going to fulfill you much. I don't think it's gonna get you so happy. It's just all external validation, and the feeling of inner peace and fulfillment is such a good one. You know, like when I was saying this gut feeling, when you feel like you need to do something, when you actually do it, like there was a time I had a feeling similar to what I'm having now, and I acted and I did what I felt was best for me, even if maybe what other people told me wasn't necessarily aligned. You know, I appreciate advice when I ask for it, but at the end of the day, doing what your gut is telling you, and what you know, and with you, and like what you've spoken to God, or what you connect with is informing you, then that's probably what's gonna make the most sense. If it's right, and if it's right for you. I'm not saying to go make a crazy decision that's not going to be good, but like, obviously think about context, because context is also important. Even with my decision and situation, maybe I'm not doing certain things because of context, and I know that it's fine, because it's still I think this is all very subjective to a decision. I'm not trying to encourage any irrational bad decisions. Like also it depends on like who you are. Like if maybe something that feels, that's why I'm saying if it's right, because if it's something that like you really want to do, but obviously it's not right or it's not rational, then no, I'm not recommending that. But I mean, from a more like self-development perspective, that's what I mean, you know. But see, like, I don't need to justify. Why am I justifying? Well, no, okay, I'm giving some background, because, and I'm giving what's it called? Not a spoiler, but not a warning. What, like in the beginning of videos, they'd give like heads up sometimes, you know, like in those Christmas hauls and YouTubers would do. They'd be like, just like a heads up. I don't want to in any way, shape, or form brag. I'm very grateful for what I've gotten. I can't remember what it would be called. The concept was called, but yeah, that. But yeah, living life for you. There was another point I was about to make, I think, but I can't remember exactly what it was. But I am gonna go back to sleep. I just woke up to pray Fajr, and I've been doing dhikr and then reading a few pages, which I've really liked, this routine, but I did not get my 8 hours of sleep, so I do need to go back to sleep before going back to my day. I have an exciting day ahead. Also not long left before I have to go back to London, inshallah. I'm excited to go back, but this trip has really made me appreciate home. I do love being home, and I do miss it. And I'm glad I had this week. Even though I'm working, I've also had time to spend quality time with family and to just, you know, be at home. Even just working from my house is a cool feeling, because I haven't done it in so long. It's reminding me of like my younger self who, well, you know, like in my IB days, I was very much on the grind, and I appreciate her. You know, she did a lot for current me, future me, but even if she didn't, that's okay, because again, think about who you are now. Your past doesn't have to define you. And with that, I will leave you here. I hope this gave you some serotonin and encouraged you to reflect. You got this. Bisous.